approval of warrants. Suggested motion to approve and sign warrants 91 through 102 in the amount of $865,161.30. Dan?
Second.
Here. Discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Item 4 is acceptance of gifts, donations, and grants. Suggested motion, move to approve to accept the following gifts, donations, and grants, the amount of $200 as described below. Forrest and Carl Alessi, $200 to the heating fund.
So moved.
Second.
Discussion, all in favor? 7-0. Item 5, Chairman's Town Manager's comments. Mr. Manager.
I would like to have your permission, Steve Levesque and Ruth Bird's comment to you on progress that they have made.
Certainly.
Good evening.
Evening.
We're going to give you a tag team. I'll start and then Ruth will come up and talk to you. So I'm going to talk to you a little bit about kind of the business development prospects that are currently going on at the former mill site at the Lincoln Technology Park. And Ruth is going to come up and talk to you a little bit about the money that we're raising to support that redevelopment effort. So there's kind of 3 major components to the redevelopment effort. One is environmental remediation, removing buildings and dealing with environmental issues, primarily asbestos, a few other things. The second one is rebuilding the infrastructure at the site. And then the third leg is obviously business development to replace the jobs that were lost as a result of the mill closure. We're making progress on all 3 of those simultaneously. So I'll talk more about the business development activities. So we have 4 major initiatives going on. One is the Biofine Development Project, Northeast, and you'll hear more about them. They'll give you a presentation a little bit later in the evening. That project is moving forward. That's going to be a really nice project. We have a 20-year lease with them. That will create eventually about 500 jobs on the site. We are in the process of finalizing the lease with Form Energy, the folks that approved that term sheet. So we're finalizing that for $320 million battery storage facility, largest in the U.S. on the western edge of the campus. We signed the lease with Revision Energy, a lease option with them for a 5-acre solar farm that will serve the community and the mill site. And we're also working with what we call the Lincoln Innovation Center. That's a technology incubator, small business development center that will support the companies that are located in the region. And we have a $3.86 million grant approved by the Economic Development Administration. We're waiting that to be finalized at a national level. And that will, and we also have another grant that will provide furnishing and equipment. That project is going to be totally about $5.2 million. We hope to get that started here by this fall. And we're working with a couple of other pretty exciting business development prospects. So we'll hopefully announce those when they become public. So what I'd like to do now is turn it over to Ruth, who does an amazing job. She's really a treasure for the town. She can give you a good concept of where we are on the fundraising project.
I have a lot of this information in my monthly report, but as I found out at the annual meeting for the chamber, there's a lot of people in town that don't know what's going on. They don't see building going on in the mill, so they're kind of not aware of what's going on. Right now, the town of Lincoln has received $12,434,250 in remediation grants. These grants right now are working. We have ongoing projects where we're dewatering the lagoon and cleaning up the sludge. We're remediating building 22 with the purpose of taking that down in the end. We're cleaning up the scale shaft area. We just released bids for the construction of the asbestos containment area. If you remember correctly, we got that permitted last year, so we can bury asbestos on the site, and that will save us about $10 million in transportation costs to get placed on the site. In addition to that, we will start 3 East, which is the big powerhouse. That bid has been worked with Campbell Environmental. We did that last month, and they're going to be starting work on that as well. So we have all of those ongoing projects. We have gotten some loans to help with this, with the very favorable repayment terms. You know, we don't have to repay any of these until we start turning a profit in the mill. We have $2.2 million in that. And pending applications for remediation and loans to do the infrastructure at the mill, we have 23 million applications out right now. We have checked, and as I told you in my monthly report, the CDS that we got for the infrastructure on Depot Street, we're about a week away of having that contract so we can start bid process for that work. Our CDS request for this year was frozen, so we were recommended to reapply for that for next year. That's already in and under review by the Senate. And that pretty much summarizes the work that's ongoing at the mill. So it's a lot of money going in and out of that mill. So thank you.
Thank you. Isn't that it? Item number 6, planning board report.
So we had 2 agenda items last month. We had 2 new businesses, Golden Tail Groomers, over on Clay Street, which used to be the old welding shop, so they're now going to be a groomer. And then the second one was Cotton Valley Health Center, right over here at 5 Lake Street. See that way. Approved 6-0.
Thank you. Any questions on monthly reports, number 7? Sure.
Chief, if you could kind of explain,
Was it 723?
no, 720.
Okay. Yeah, so one of the things I put in the monthly report was the kind of a bill that was put into the legislature on changing the police academy from a residential to a non-residential. So the Main Chiefs of Police didn't really take a stance on it because I think there's about 50-50 that agree and disagree. They will find that most that disagree are kind of up here, and a lot of them that agree are down there because what they want is the ability to send their people an easier way to send them back and forth to the academy or having what they call a remote academy. I don't think it's a great idea. I think where I see the problems is we need some sort of stress for police officers to get into the job, and having it at the police academy is a controlled environment. So we need to make sure that our officers can handle stress under pressure and out on the street, not the place to do it. So having it at the police academy is where it probably needs to happen. That's kind of, but that bill did get defeated right now. I think it's going to be brought up again. I think it's going to be something that you're going to see over the next couple of years. They're really pushing to try to do. It's the problem too is it works great if you're right around the corner to somewhere you can go, but it's still going to be Bassboro. I don't know how we can do that as a day trip all the time. Probably end up costing more.
Also, I think you mentioned regarding not having enough space regarding the proper storage of flags, taking the yellow flag wall, red flag wall, whatever. Is there something that you have an idea on as far as what you're looking for?
Yeah, I think down the road we need to figure that out. I think this is going to be a continued problem for police departments, whether they're big or small, right? Because they're going to take in guns on these yellow flags. So the yellow flag, just to kind of give an update on that. So the yellow flag is a law that we can put in, that we can go and get and take your guns away if you're a safety risk to yourself or others. It's supposed to be temporary, but sometimes it can be a longer period of time until you can get your guns back. And the same thing with PFAs. We make since I've been here, in 1 month, we took 150 guns, which that was extreme. But we have to be able to store them properly, and I have to be able to give them back to you the same way that I got them. And, you know, we need a better system to be able to do that. So,
One of the things about, so you'd probably be looking for some sort of an idea on the temperature control.
yeah, so the way that building is right now, the building is leaks. It leaks in there, this spring or again. And there's no temperature control in that evidence room part. So I think we have to address that at some point so that, you know, guns that are gonna stay in there a long period of time are gonna have to be, you know, temperature controlled.
Sometimes the guns will stay in there for 2 years.
Well, yeah, definitely they could, especially with, you know, PFAs, if somebody gets this. I mean, I'll give you the example. I don't know what we're gonna do. This one that we took over 100 guns in. I think he goes this week, and if they get a full PFA, we're gonna have to keep those guns for 2 years. And I'm gonna have to reevaluate how we store them. It's the way they are right now.
One of the things that I would be concerned, we got that many guns, I don't know how much it would cost to refurbish those. Because you damn, you know, those fire up real well.
Yeah, and you know as well as I do, you know, we bring the gun in and it was in good condition. And, you know, all you have to do is have somebody say that there was a scratch or, you know, and we took pictures of them all, but still, you know, that could be an issue.
That could hang you to it.
Right. But
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make a comment based on the report that we had over 64 tax people late on the taxes. Now we have 30 that we set up, 30 remaining. The other ones set up for payment. One thing we need to do as a council, and even the department heads or even the manager, we have to be very mindful moving forward because this is going to continue to be an uptick. We have businesses in town that's hemorrhaging with $1,800 a month tax burden. We have residents that's paying $1,100 a month just because they've been able financially to have a house and a camp. There's a lot of elderly, probably 60% of the people in town are elderly. So we got to be very, very forthright moving forward on how we're going to spend their money because there's a petition going around town and there's a lot of people having a hard job and make ends meet. And if we continue to raise taxes for wants, not needs, then we're going to have a problem. We're going to see a big out-migration. And no matter what we put down to that Lincoln site, it's going to be generations before we see a profit. So I would just like to urge this council and the people, the powers to be very mindful on the taxpayers because people are hemorrhaging them.
Thank you. Anyone else for monthly reports? Is there no here for open forum? Yes, in the back. Can you come to the microphone, please?
Ask the council for some forgiveness here and my words and stuff. But I just had one question and I put out the town manager and I didn't think. The last audit was done in June of 2020. When are we taking for another one?
There is a report coming on the audit status here in this meeting.
Oh, okay. So I, yeah, that's all. That's the question I had. Just curious.
Thank you. Anyone else for open forum? Kathleen?
This is kind of in line with what Sheldon said, but very specific to our fire and ambulance service. First of all, Central Highlands, it started an initiative to go before the commissioners and the state and the federal if they need to, in order for agencies who do service on the I-95 corridor to get reimbursed. Because my understanding is nobody gets reimbursed. I thought their charter would be prepared, so I present it to you all to consider, to appoint somebody to be part of that effort with them. Personally, I think Les Brown would be the ideal person, but that's up to you. So that's kind of a heads up that you're gonna be asked if Lincoln wants to participate with the other agencies on the corridor to see if we can get reimbursed when we do work out there. The second thing is, I saw from the Lincoln News that we have a new 3-year deal with WIN. And I'm just wondering if you all reviewed those contracts and approved them for 3 years. As far as I know, they don't cover our costs of service. So I would encourage you to take a look at those. Chester's probably coming up, McQuaha, I don't know what else. So just to take care of our taxes. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Mr. Manager?
I would respond to what has just been said. We get admittedly pennies from Penobscot County for service on I-95. It should be more, but we're in a hard position to force them to pay more. The contracts we have with Wynn and Chester are both based on a formula that this council approved years ago. The formula was changed very slightly 2 years ago. Les Brown and I are now working on changing the formula substantially. What needs to happen is that the amount of money shown for EMS needs to be greatly increased, but the total can't really increase. If we push Wynn to go with someone else, and if we push Chester to go with someone else, we're looking at $300,000 we'll stop taking in. So as a result, that only puts us financially in a poorer position. So we're trying to figure out how to write these contracts so that they show more for EMS, but that means they're going to have to show less for fire, because the total amount of money, it doesn't have to be the exact dollar, but it's got to stay pretty much where it is if we intend to keep those two towns paying us.
Thank you. Anyone else for open forum? 9A, public hearing, new state liquor license application, Why Not Stop Deli, suggested motion, move to open public hearing for the purpose of hearing oral and written comments on new state liquor license application submitted by Why Not Stop Deli.
So move.
Okay. Discussion? All of it. 7-0. We're in at 7:18 PM.
Chairman, has the state approved this, or is it protocol that the town approves it before the state?
Mr. Manager?
It has to come to the council first. Once the council approves it, then Dan has to send it to the state.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? We'll let you know at 7:19. Approve new state liquor license application, Why Not Stop Deli, suggested motion. Move to approve the new state liquor license application submitted by Why Not Stop Deli.
So move.
Steve? Dan? Discussion? All in favor? 7-0. 10A, public hearing, operating an ATV on a public way ordinance, 1414.1, 1414.14, 0101, and 0302. Suggested motion, move to open a public hearing for purpose of hearing oral and written comments on the proposed changes, updates, the operating an ATV on a public way ordinance 1414.1, 1414.14 as attached.
So move.
Steve, Dan? Discussion?
I just, I know there are some here for the proven trail up Dale Street to be able to get to High Street Market. That is part of this new ordinance. Written in the ordinance. If you don't see it separate. That's why.
Anyone else? All in favor to open the public hearing? 7-0. You are ahead of that a little bit.
Well, hey,
Better be ahead than behind, I guess.
that's right, that's right.
Open at 7:20 PM. Yes, sir, chief.
So I figured I'd talk first. I'll let Tom talk in a few minutes. Basically, he brought this to Ann to update that. What we were talking about as far as the one street that needed to be updated. I think Tom's gonna talk about, there's another section that was approved last year as a temporary thing. But I think he wants to look at possibly making that more of a permanent thing, but I'll let Tom bring it up because I don't really know a whole lot about that. But when Ann asked me to look at it, I looked at the ordinance, the whole ordinance. I updated a few things. I updated what it meant to be an all-terrain vehicle. I just mimicked what the state definition was. Instead of trying to have our own definition, it didn't really make sense to me to do that. I updated the access routes as far as the clarification in the ordinance. I think this just makes it easier for the officers to be able to figure out what exactly is an access route and what's not an access route. And I think we need to look at possibly the signage too, to make sure that we have the proper signage to ensure that people are following that, right? So I updated that, updated just that it was needed to be the extreme right. Again, wording from the state on how they word things. Now, one of them was all ATVs must be properly registered and insured. And I took the insured part out. I don't know how I enforce that. They don't enforce it on the regular trail. I just don't know how I enforce it on these trails. It would be really tough for me to do that. Much that's all set. There was two different sections in here, and that's where I kind of updated that. I think one was 14.3 and one was 14.14, and it just put the access routes together so that it actually showed that. And that there was different times and different speed limits, and I just put it all as the same. So it just kind of made it a little bit easier to read in the ordinance. So I think that was everything that I did on that. Questions?
You mentioned signage.
Yes.
How many signs are we talking about and how do you word that?
So it should say access route on it. I wish it would say access route like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. because that's what it says in the ordinance. But I guess that depends on, really making all those signs. But that's what the ordinance says. I guess if we probably asked a lot of ATV people, they're not going to know that that's what the ordinance is. So.
Yeah, it sounds, I like the idea of making it clear.
Yeah.
The only comment regarding the show, is that the state doesn't require the ATV to be insured,
No,
even on access highway, like it's involved in the
it's a pain in the butt.
That's honest.
Right. I mean, they don't require it would be tough. There was that reminds me too. There was also something in there about other agencies enforcing our ordinance, and I took that out because I didn't feel like the sheriff's office is not going to enforce it. I talked to the board service; they're not going to enforce it. But what I don't want to see is have us let access routes all over town, because then it's just going to allow the person that maybe has a suspended driver's license to use their ATV to just drive around town. So, and they're allowed to be suspended and on an access route. So. Other questions?
Thanks, chief.
Yeah, well,
Anyone else?
I'll just follow up on Chief, and if anybody has any questions, the new route we're proposing comes from the end of Hale Street, next to where the new solar farm's going up. It comes off of our Taylor Street Trail, which runs from the parking lot here in town, all the way out, all the way to our clubhouse. But this would come down Hale Street to Enfield Road and to Wynot. No, I'm sorry, not Wynot, Stop High Street Market. So,
I don't know how we can get the word out, Tom, but last year, 2 different occasions with the line of ATVs going down the middle of West Broadway in the turn lane and not going 15 miles an hour. I think that'd be my biggest gripe, is on West Broadway where they're talking up 25, 30 miles an hour in the 3 or 4 of them. I don't know if we can get that word out, that just needs to stop. I mean, of course, we'll have good patrols out there, chief, will have people out there, whatever, but in busy times during the summer, and they're in that turn lane coming down from the trail to line up stop. Yeah, that's a danger. That's a danger. If we could get that word out, that would really be helpful.
Right, why not stop right now? There's only a crossing there at the road. That's the only way to.
But they end up going up to Richards, and I'm sure they'll end up going up to, and it's not on the side of the road, it's right down the center. So I think we get that word out there, that would be really helpful.
There'll be additional signage this year that,
And the 15 mile an hour, thing is really big over on West Broadway, because it can get really congested. Thank you. Anyone else? Anyone else to the public here? We will go over at 7:26 PM. Item 10B, operating an ATV on a public way ordinance, approve the changes. Suggested motion, move to approve the changes and updates to operating an ATV on a public way ordinance, 1414.1 1414.14 as attached.
So moved. Second. We retired. Oh,
Discussion?
dying, yeah.
All in favor? 7-0. Item 11A, public hearing. Move over to public hearing for the purpose of hearing oral written comments on the proposed changes and updates to the schedule of fees as attached. Here. Discussion? All in favor?
I had a discussion, Chairman.
Okay.
Speaking about schedule of fees, I have a problem with the airplane hangar fee. You're gonna spend $500 a month to store a Winnebago or a motor.
Can we talk about this one?
Oh, okay,
So,
once we go in.
yes.
All right, sorry.
So all in favor, I need a vote on
Yeah.
going into open hearing. All in favor? 7-0.
All right, Mr. Chairman, I just have a problem with that $185 a month fee to rent the airport, the hangars down there. I mean, to rent a storage unit this size, it's gonna cost you $150 a month, just the size of this unit here. So I think what we need to do is do our due diligence and go out and ask other airports or in the area, like, Old Town and maybe Millinocket, see what they're charging, because, there's a lot of people out there think that the taxpayers subsidize the airport, which I see both sides and I see the importance of it, but we really should do our due diligence and charge what the rate is. And not only that, the octane fuel that we're charging, I mean, in some cases, 40 cents cheaper than Millinocket. So we really gotta be thoughtful on how we handle that.
Mr. Manager?
The airport manager, Stu Jacobs, has looked at other airports around us regarding the fee for the hangar, and I think we're in the ballpark. Regarding the fuel, the price of the fuel is set based on the delivery. So it could be that ours and Millinocket and Old Town are all different because we took delivery at separate times.
Anyone else for public hearing? Okay. We'll be out at 7:30 PM. Item 11B, suggested motion, move to approve the changes, updates, and schedule of fees as attached. Dan? Gary? Discussion? All in favor? All opposed? 6-1, Michelle Moore. Item number 12, presentation, Biofine Development Northeast update.
Good evening, everybody. It's good to see everybody again. I think the last time we provided an update to this group was August of last year. So thank you for giving us this opportunity to give you an update on our project. And thank you also for the continued support from the town and the community. We're very aware of some of the budget and planning challenges that are facing municipalities and states right now. Our hope is that our project will help ease some of those challenges. But as I say, we really appreciate all of your continued support that you've expressed over really a few years now. So tonight I'm joined by a couple of my Biofine colleagues. Mike Posada, if you want to stand up, Mike is our Chief Development Officer. Drove up from Cambridge this morning. Ian Toll came up from Freeport. Ian is our plant operations manager. He operated the plant, the pilot in Old Town for 8 years. And he's becoming quickly the face of Biofine here in Lincoln. And I'm Stephen Jones. I'm the CEO of Biofine Developments Northeast. So I just have a quick 146-page presentation that I'm going to hope you brought a lunch. No, I'll go through this very quickly. And I know some of this you've heard before, but for anybody who hasn't, I just want to give you a quick once-over of Biofine and the project, and an update on what we've done, which is a lot since we last saw you. So on slide 2, there's And we've been working with Chinbro to replace the design engineer. We have a short list of 2. We actually expect to make a decision between those 2 this week before our board meeting on Friday. That replacement of that engineering firm is actually a source of a fair amount of delay, though, because it is a lot of work to pull out all of the engineering work that we did with them and translate it to something that we can hand to the next guy. On the permitting side, we finalized our site law permits and are into the Q&A section of that process. All of the final applications for permits were submitted right after we saw you in August. So in September, I think they were already in final form by the time we saw you. Very late in that process, the Maine DEP informed us that they were reviewing our permits and believed that we may need to also apply for a permit as a waste processing facility. So we do not agree with that. We've been working with the town and with DEP to understand how and if that does actually apply. That has also introduced some delay into our program. We are confident, though, that we'll recover that time, but we can't make up for the time we've already lost. So we'll show you what that's done to our schedule. But we're still moving ahead on all fronts. And then contracting activities, I mentioned a couple of these. We've contracted with NACE for our operations and maintenance, Harcross Chemicals for supply, distribution, marketing of chemicals, and then the various feedstock agreements. So on page 5 is our milestone schedule, and all of the things that I just walked you through are listed there in the blue. In gray are the items left until we get to our final investment decision, financial closing, and notice to proceed. That includes an amendment that I'll talk about in a minute to the lease that we have with you, the final appointment of the EPC contractor, and then finalizing financing. Those delays that I mentioned are pushing our projected closing and construction date to the end of the year. So that is, not what we would rather, but that is something that we did want to apprise you of. So on to page 6, in your packet, you have a lease amendment, and we're respectfully requesting the council's consent to approve that lease amendment. It's something we've worked on with staff. And it does just a few things. There's an extension of the dates because of the delays that we mentioned for the commencement date from March 31 to December 31. We proposed an extension fee of $30,000 that we would pay quarterly installments beginning 30 days from when the amendment is signed. The most substantive thing in this lease, though, is the increased size of the permitted lease premises. And this is because of a few things, doing a number of more things on site than we had initially planned. I mentioned that we added a couple of products, so we needed warehouse space, we needed tank capacity, and just for sort of ease of execution, we've increased the footprint. Effectively, what we've done in this lease amendment is taken the phase 2 option that was already written in the lease. If you remember that in the lease, then you're a better reader than I am because I forgot all about it. But so we're going from 3.5 acres to 7.1 acres, and all of the rents and taxes will be increased accordingly. And then the exhibits reflect the increased building plan. So the next 2 slides, I just want to show quickly, show you exactly what we're doing on the lease area. So this is the original lease area. This is the old building 8, and the entrance from Depot Street. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that the size and actual complexity on the site has increased considerably. We're taking over the foundation of old building 6 and 7, and you'll see the addition of a number of other outbuildings. Another thing we've done, and I don't know if Rick and Steve, you want to talk about this, but the access road has now become a public way. You want to say a word about that?
So, yeah, well, the original one, showed it coming down through here. It has to be a public way, and that's what we have the $3.5 million already under contract, that we're under contract with HUD to build that road and extend water and sanitary sewage. And that will be a public way that will not only provide access to BioFire, but access to other activities in the site. So that'll be a new improved road. Hope to get that into construction this fall.
So this premises redesign was engineered by our engineer, CBM Mahar, and then reviewed by your engineer, Haley Ward, and that becomes part of the lease amendment. Again, respectfully, we requested you consent to approving that amendment and appreciate your support. And then in the last page, just some things that don't sort of enter into the day-to-day timeline and execution path, but that we want to talk about some things we're really excited and pleased about with our progress. Earlier this year, we were named the top green chemicals company for 2025 by Chemical Industry Review, which we're thrilled about. It's got us a lot of great press, a lot of really terrific interest and inbound inquiry from the green chemicals community, the chemical community generally. We also got some great news coverage with these handsome fellows here, Rick Bronson and Ian Toll. If you caught us on Channel 5 back on the 2nd of April, that also sort of raised our profile in a way that we're pleased about, and they spoke very highly of us. We've also introduced some enhancements to our operations and process that is increasing our yield, and that in turn increases the project's viability. And just gives us that much more confidence as we enter the financing phase. A number of new partnership opportunities have come out of all of this, out of all of this progress with Phillips 66, with Enviva, with Drax. We've also engaged Stevens Investment Bank as our financial advisor as we approach the financing market. And then one more thing that I just want to mention, because it might be on people's minds. There's been clarification at a federal level about the status of biofuels and relative to the rest of renewable energy, green power. And in the day one executive order releasing American Energy, biofuels is actually enshrined as an important part of the American energy landscape, which is very satisfying to us. A lot of that is focused on ethanol as an oxygenate for motor fuels, but it includes all biofuels. And so, to the extent of any concern or trepidation about what happens to a project like ours, we actually feel like we got kind of a little bit of a boost there. And I think that's really all I wanted to say. I don't know, Mike or Ian, if there's anything that I forgot or think I've talked too long, but okay.
That sounds good.
Okay, all right. And I'm happy to take any questions now or later. Thanks very much. Thanks again for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Item 13, audit report update.
12A.
Item 12A. Anyone? Always one time every week. isn't it? Item 12A, revised amendment to the BDME lease agreement. Move to authorize the town manager to sign final revised amendment to BDME lease agreement. David? Question?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I don't know who put this original release together, but after looking at it, I'd like to have the old one to compare with. I'm assuming that number 8 tissue mill, that's 20,000 square feet. The average price for square footage right now, commercial, is $7 to $32 a square foot. If we cut that price to $7 instead of 14, that'd be $140,000. And the original lease was signed in 2023. If I sign a lease tomorrow, I gotta start paying the day after. So with that being said, I can't get behind this. I can see the big picture, but I don't think this is the best thing moving forward for the taxpayers, because I understand we need to act as good faith, good stewards, try to promote business. But at the end of the day is, you know, we really need to do what's right for the taxpayers, because tell you, there's a lot of stuff out in the community.
You know, Mr. Hampton, I wish these people would come to this meeting.
I would too, and I'm
really
their,
do.
and I'm their voice, Mr.
I
Chairman.
understand it, but I wish they would come here and sit, because I'm gonna ask Mr. Levesque to respond to that question, because this has been a 3-year process.
I understand.
Okay, and I just wish those folks would come to this meeting and join us and work with us.
They do not have the time, Mr. Chairman, due respect, because they're out there trying to working 2, 3, 4 jobs just to make ends meet. I mean, this body, and I'm guilty of it in the past, we have risen the taxes to the point where they can't even hardly survive.
That's why we have a budget process coming in. Right? We have to work on the budget process, and see if we can do something.
No one is ever concerned about the taxpayer.
That's not true. You know it's not true. Mr. Levesque, could you respond to that, please?
I will try to do that. So as part of, obviously, when you look at the mill site and the picture of it and at least, I mean, it's a significantly blighted facility that has significant issues. And when you look at that, you have to look at it, you know, in context of what you have. Yes, if we had a good state-of-the-art building that had good infrastructure and other things, that would probably get $5 to $7 a square foot in Lincoln, but that's not what we have here. And it needs significant investment. The company is going to invest $120 million. I mean, they'll be paying $100,000 a year in rent, but the property taxes will also be enhanced. So we get new property taxes coming from this project, as well as employment. So you have to balance all those when you're doing the negotiation. So yeah, so once again, if we had a brand new building that was, you know, good infrastructure, supportive infrastructure that was right there, we could get $7. And we're working with a company to try to build a spec building on the property. So that's what we're looking at. And it was at the, you know, obviously looking at it, yeah, it's probably a lower lease rate than you'd like for a modern building, but it's not a modern building. It is what it is. It's going to make substantial investments. We still own the building. We're leasing it. So it's a lower lease rate, but the property taxes are going to be based on the new values, and the jobs are going to be created, which is going to create additional income and taxes to the community. So you balance all those things out. Hopefully that answers the question.
Thank you very much. Mr. Hampton, anything else? No. Anyone else? All in favor? All opposed? 6-1, Mr. Chairman.
Aye.
Item 13, audit report.
Mr. Chairman, I think the best person to speak to this is the treasurer, Melissa Quintella. She has been working with the audit company. I'd like to say on a weekly basis, but it's closer to a daily basis. And she knows where we are now.
Thank you.
So, a week ago, I met with, Barry Dunn and the audit firm to finalize all their final questions they had. This audit was very intensive, that they had to learn how we work. I must have answered well over 100 questions to them. And Barry Dunn was doing the same. Last week, they said it was in its final review. They said if they had any more questions, they would reach out. And as of today, they had no final questions of us. So I would say it is imminent that this audit report will be here, and they did say that this next audit that they're already starting on will be much faster than this one. They've already set a date to start May 1st with the next one, which again leads me to believe that within the next week, we should have the audit. They had already sent a draft of the audit to Barry Dunn to review, since Barry Dunn has been working with us a little bit longer. And that's about all I have on it.
You should have this by next week.
I would hope so.
Quick question. This audit is for which year?
This one is for 21, and they're already starting to work on 22. This audit firm specializes, as Rick pointed out, in forensic audits. So they are super thorough, even though we have not hired them to do a forensic audit. I think in all my years here, this is most definitely the most thorough that anybody has ever been with the questions and asking me to upload information to them.
So when will 23 and 24 be done? Is that-
As soon as they're done 22 or get to a point in 22, they will ask me to start uploading the 23 and the 24.
And 25 will be coming up.
Yes, we will probably have to go back out to bid because they were contracted to do 21 through 24. So that will come before you. Once we're done the 24, we'll go out to bid for the 25. And we'll probably do 3 years, which is our normal. Because it takes a long time, obviously, to learn how our books are done for a new audit firm. We always run into this when we switch. It takes them a long time because they have to read the prior audit reports and get their own feel for how the town manages their books.
Thank you. Mr. Manager.
Just to remind you, you may remember, you may not, when we changed auditors the first time, we went to a company in Ellsworth, which we seem beginning to get to understand them and them us. However, the person at that firm who did that audit then left that company and went to the Ellsworth School Department. So we had to start over and look again. I took the list of 23 auditors approved by the Maine Bond Bank, and I called 22 of the 23. The 23rd one was an auditor we had had in the past, and I knew we were not interested in trying that again. So I called 22, and all 22, well, 21 of the 22 said, we're too busy, we don't have people. One of the good ones, RKO, no longer goes north of Bangor, so we can't get them to come here. And the one that did say they would do it He started at, he would do a basic audit for $100,000, and if it got more complicated, then he'd be looking for another 50,000. That just not anything we can work with. So ultimately, Barry Dunn helped us find some other audit firms which are not in Maine, and we ended up with Rotifer Moss, yes, which is a forensic auditing company. I did not take into account at that time that it was possible that all I know how to do is a forensic audit. We're in that deep now. We're in so deep, it's almost shocking. They are asking us questions, or had been asking us questions about things like, why did the dollar amount for schools change, what we received from the state? Why did the dollar amount for what we get for homestead exemption change? They don't understand the state of Maine and its rules at all. So we've had to teach them how that works while they're doing this audit, and they're digging that deep. So I guess that's good when we get done, but it's certainly been painful and time-consuming on the way.
Thank you. 14A, budget committee discussion papers. Does anyone have any information points for the budget?
If I could, Mr. Chair.
Yeah.
This is the last opportunity to put anybody on the budget committee.
Yes.
In reality, this is supposed to close a month ago, but we have historically in recent years kept it open a little longer, but this will be the last pass by this.
So all our budget committee members have been voted on, so there's no sense in holding on again.
Yes, and I think the background checks are done, aren't they, Melissa?
They are complete.
Okay.
I did that for the budget discussion. And I thought I asked that. No, I asked one discussion, nobody wanted to discuss it. Well, I think there's been some conflict with the last few months. Okay, so we can move it back right up to 14A. Budget committee discussion.
I voted, but it's not in favor of all. But the simple fact that I don't believe the budget committee has the value someone would vote for that. This year, obviously, we've done what we've done, but going forward, I think that discussion is not big on that altogether. Simply because 7 of us sitting up here are the ones that taxpayers voted on. They didn't vote on these 6 people. They voted for us. The public hearings, they have the opportunity to tell us what they see, what they'd like to see different. And I think the budget committee simply prolongs the process, painfully prolongs the process, and makes it much longer than it needs to be. Very well, be much more in that, and that's fine. But that's how my feeling on it. That's why I don't support it. I don't vote in favor of it.
Anybody else? That's all?
I just find it hard to find someone. People I have had on the budget committee, they get into it and they know what they're doing, but by the time 2 or 3 years is up, they don't want to do it anymore because they don't see the value of it. So, yeah, so they're not truly.
Mr. Manager?
If it became an interest of the council to change the procedure and not have a budget committee, I point out to you that you can do that reasonably easily because the budget committee is not established in charter.
Good.
I just know a lot of times in the past,
budget committee members get upset if we don't do exactly what they say. But it's not all about the numbers either. It's some of them bring different ideas or different ways of thinking that I wouldn't have thought of. So I guess I could take or leave it. You know, they can express those ideas at public hearings also.
Yeah.
No, I gotta tell you, it's written right down, the budget committee does not make the decisions, this council makes it. But I've always been one to support the budget committee because I think they bring ideas outside of this council that may or may not be good. The council makes the evaluation, the council makes the determination what they do with it. So I wouldn't be in favor, I'm one vote, I wouldn't be in favor of getting rid of the budget committee because if I can have a budget committee member come on that budget committee and make a suggestion to the 7 of us and we all agree and it lowers our taxes, I think it's worth going through a little bit of pain. So that's my take on it. I like to have everybody that wants to be involved, and they may not be able to be on the council, they may not run for the council, but they are interested in the budget and they're interested in seeing if we can lower our taxes rather, as we try to increase our tax base. So that would be my thought on it. Anyone else?
Where do you find that for? Choose to vote?
I got a couple.
That's the problem.
I'm just gonna say, John, I did a. Mr. Chairman.
Yes, sir.
I see both sides. But one being in the public eye at the legislature, we need to, it's that committee that does the homework. And I understand where Councilman McCarthy's coming from, but at the end of the day, it's that one person that's doing the homework. And I understand sometimes, yes, the budget committee would like to have their way, but at the end of the day, it's been precedent as long as I've been in Lincoln, you know. And I've always been disheartened to think that in years past, we've never had 14 members ever on the budget committee. So, you know, I got to stand behind that budget committee, but I understand where you're coming from, Derek. You know, but at the end of the day, it's that person that's doing the homework. I've never done so much homework in my life than I did last year. So that's where I got to stand on it.
Thank you.
John, can I ask Kathy what her thoughts are on the budget committee? Because she's going to be on it.
Sure.
Kathy, what are your thoughts?
I think it's very valuable for the reasons that have been pointed out. Yes, the 7 of you make the decision. The manager provides his input to you, but you can't possibly know every angle, and you're not going to go through the items line by line in a public hearing. You're just not going to give that forum, and the budget committee allows for that. Is it slow and slogging? Maybe. Do they come up with crazy ideas? Maybe. But at least you can look at the crazy ideas, you can look at what the manager puts in, and then you can make the decision. I don't think that individually you have the time to go through the budget the way the budget committee does. Nor do you have the time to listen to the managers explain their line by line rationale. They spend a lot of time putting their budgets together. And that's a forum where they can be heard line by line. And the manager knows, but it doesn't, all the information can't possibly be transmitted to you. So I think it's just another layer. And if you dismiss it, fine. And I do talk to people who've been on the budget committee over the last 20 years. And the budget committee always feels that they work very hard and that their work isn't appreciated because it doesn't get voted on. And I tell them, wow, welcome to democracy. But at least you have a chance to bring your ideas forward. So I think it's a good thing. I'm on it. Thank you, Gordon. So, thank you for putting me in.
Then we did have a year, first of all, council, remember, where we did not have a budget. And we did actually go line by line down that budget and get the explanation from the department heads and from the town. So it is possible, and it has been done before.
Anyone else? Mr. Mayor?
I would just like to comment that when we're talking about doing the homework to create the budget, the department heads are the ones who really do the homework to get that done.
Okay, one additional thing I'm not hearing, I really think is important, and that is, it's a layer of transparency that we don't have anymore.
Anyone? So these committee members have already been voted on, so there's no sense in going. Item number 15, reappoint member, Water District Board of Trustees. Suggested motion move to reappoint Lee Haskell to the Water District Board of Trustees for a 3-year term expiring April 30th, 2028.
So moved.
Steve, anyone? Discussion? All in favor? 7-0.
Fine.
No?
No.
Oh, 6-1? Oh, sorry. All vote. Election workers. Suggest, item 16, the foreign election workers. Suggested motion, move to appoint Elizabeth Zerma and Diane Freeland as election workers until May 2026.
So moved.
Discussion? These people have the informational session with the office in the background. We'll have
Background check it.
background check. If they have confirmed, then they'll have the freedom of access training.
They actually don't have to have freedom of access.
Oh, they don't have to have that anymore?
Oh, we're election worker.
Okay. All in favor? 7-0. Item 17, approve closing farmers market. Suggested motion, move to approve closing part of the Veterans Memorial Square beginning at 8 AM for the purpose of the farmers and artisans market to run on Fridays from June 13th through October 3rd, 2025, from 10 AM to 2 PM.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Item 18. Suggested motion, move to proclaim May 4th through May 10th, 2025 as Professional Municipal Clerk Week, and further extend appreciation to our professional clerks and our staff for the vital services they perform and their exemplary dedication to the community they represent.
So moved.
Discussion? All in favor? 7-0. Item 19, award bid. Suggested motion, move to award the cross pipe replacement bid to Eastwood Contractors in the amount of $74,444. Funding come from the FY25 capital paving expense.
So moved.
Second. Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I got looking at the bid request. Do we give preference to contractors in town? I know in the past, we looked at that different times. I mean, this is the cheapest bid, but
We give 5% preference to local contractors. This bid was more economical by more than that.
Okay. Anyone else? Dennis? All in favor? 7-0. Item 20, discussion tailgate spreader.
I put this on the agenda, several discussions here, as ideas moving forward with some of the ways to economize our money. We have a sweeper, an old sweeper, it's not worth very much. And we've been offered some trade value when it is partial payment for this tailgate spreader. This tailgate spreader would be a huge plus to the crew there at Public Works. I put some information in your packet on it. And we do a lot of shouldering work in the last few years because of the heavy rains that we've experienced. And this machine would make it much easier for us to do it and do a better job.
Is that in your 2026 budget?
That will be my 2026 budget.
Jim, what's the life expectancy of this tailgate spreader?
I have no idea.
Question's gotta go through you.
Yeah, I know. But you know I didn't have any ideas, Joe. Come on.
The information that we have, Councilman Hannigan, is in that packet there. I've not been told any exact life expectancy on it. I would expect it would be at least 8 or 10 years and maybe.
So we can't perform any work without that? We have in the past, when we got by without them.
We have in the past and we got by without it. The last several years, I've seen an increase of torrential rains causing more shouldering work than needs to be done. I have a list of it now just from the rains and it hasn't even got to the summertime yet.
So this just clips on the back of the dump body, and you fill it with the dump body up or whatever, and then it just shoots it off to one side or the other.
Correct.
Now, can you do the same thing by just dumping it there and moving it with the motor of the grader?
We could do that. It would be a lesser job. It would be a messier job. It would be a slower job. It is on our schedule this year to do some shouldering work with the grader. This will be run concurrently on a different job site altogether. Could be run concurrently on a different job site.
Now, do we have the space to keep this undercover so it don't deteriorate 5 years down the road and we have to replace it?
We could make some space for it. We have a winter storage and we have a summer storage. I mean, every spring and fall, we swap out. We could find storage space for it.
I guess what I think does is put it in your 2026 budget because my opinion is every year, if we have needs, we have wants. This sounds like a want, that we can do this job without this piece of machinery. And I put it in my budget and see where it goes from there, but basically with me, it's gonna be needs this year. So, anybody else want discussion for the tailgate stuff?
The question, you said it would be more efficient, it would take less time.
That's correct.
All right, what are we talking about in man hours in cost? What do we actually save?
I think we're gonna be 50% faster and probably 1 or 2 guys less on the job. So that's 75% increase.
That is a complete guess. Let's go on now. 75% less?
Well, if you take 2 men off the job and you get it done twice as fast, that's 75%.
Put a set of chains on the back of that dump truck and go down the road, somebody knows how to run chains, but get rid of everybody, so the truck driver and the chains.
I think it would be significant. Time saved.
Anyone else? Item 21, discussion, trade in 2 trucks for 1 dump truck, 0406.
Trade in 2 of our single axle dumps that are ready to be cycled out and for a 1-ton dump truck, a small dump truck.
Didn't we just get a small dump truck?
We do have a small dump truck. It has a dedicated route. What I'm looking for, we've run into a lot of problems the last couple of years with the gravel roads this time of the year and earlier, putting the big trucks on them and just causing us a lot of problems. A one-ton dump would cure that problem.
Will this have a plow on it?
Well, in a perfect world, we'd like to have a plow.
How many miles on your truck? When is your pickup ready to?
Pickup has about 80,000 miles.
Will
Still has a couple of years left.
Wouldn't it be smart to replace that and put a dump body on your truck? And that's a heavy duty F-250, correct?
The F-250. That truck also serves as our sand truck, as an in-body sander.
But if we're looking to replace that down the road, replace that and then put a dump body on that truck if we want to use it a certain amount of time. I mean, it might save us $20,000-$30,000 in the scheme of things. And another thing, if we trade number 3 and number 4, are we looking to replace them down the road too?
No, we just took the possession of our last wheeler in our lease cycle. So we could replace the pickup truck, but then we wouldn't have our sander.
But if you get in the pickup, you wouldn't. You know? I mean, how long have it? 6 years?
2019. Again, these are ideas to just talk about, things that, as I'm trying to economize, and think of ideas out of the box. We could benefit from a one-ton dump truck. An F-450 or the equivalent arrow.
Mainly dirt roads, late in the year that you.
Beginning early and late in the year, and then obviously we've used it in the summertime to get the smaller jobs, get a crew to a smaller job.
That small truck now does not do a very good job plowing roads. So I worry about finding one smaller to try to do the same thing.
So I haven't found the International to not do a good job, and maybe I
live on one where it's used, so I can tell you right now, it doesn't scrape down at all. It's every single.
Sound like the comparable to about 550.
Yeah, I don't even know what that one is.
But it's an International.
Yeah. So I'd be hesitant to get another small truck for plowing. But I understand on the dirt road side of it, early and late where it could be.
Early and late's becoming more of our time over the last 5 years. The conditions.
So on this is a straight trade, 2 trucks for
No,
one?
we would have to pay off a balance.
That's right.
I've been looking around, there's some out there for 50,000, which is about what our dump trucks are worth. There's some out there for 125,000. So it would take a little bit of shopping.
So Dennis, I noticed you have a truck, it's a van truck in your yard over there. What is that used for? That's not ours, that's not the town's.
It's the town's, it's the stage truck. It has a stage in it and it carries a stage to.
Oh, okay, how long have we had that?
4 years.
Oh, really? Nothing, I just noticed, well, I saw the Lincoln on it, but wow.
One we bought off Rick.
Oh, okay, that's right, the stage, yes. So you still use it in the summertime then?
It's used mostly in the
Oh,
summertime.
okay, so you wouldn't want to get rid of it, or?
No. And it's enclosed, so it keeps the stage and there's a generator in there and keeps it all out of the weather.
Yep.
That it for discussion on 2 trucks or 1-ton dump truck? Item 22, discussion reappropriate funds in order to replace dump body on truck number 7.
Okay, this is on there, and I should have put this as a voting item. We have money left in our contractual services line item in our budget now, enough to cover the replacement of this body. This body's been compromised. The rack was wedged up in it, it tweaked the body out of shape. and it's been problematic for a number of years. We have money that was budgeted this year, appropriate this year in our contractual services line. And that's the money that's the funds that I would like to use to replace the body.
Now, Dennis, this truck number 7, is this a tandem or a single axle?
Tandem axle, wheel it.
So you're talking probably 30 grand.
62,000 installed.
Is that front body something that we can't get by with on up for another year?
We probably could get by with this.
What I want to say, the work is safe.
It's safe, it works at 3/4 capacity. You have to lift the interior body up to a certain level, so it gets past the tweak in the body. But it's not, that they're hard.
Item number 23, approved town manager contract. Suggested motion, move to approve extending the town manager's contract for 1 year.
So moved. Second.
David? Steve? Discussion?
Mr. Chairman, I can't remember what we negotiated as far as, I understand he has not asked for an increase.
No, it's not for instance.
Now, does he get paid mileage, gas or mileage or anything?
No,
I don't think so.
let me take that back.
Mr. Manager?
I get paid if I am doing town business
Right.
outside the town of Lincoln for mileage.
Right.
But as far as my commuting, no. And as far as anything I do within the town of Lincoln, no.
But if you have to go to Augusta to testify, if you have to do something like in Bangor,
Right, yes.
you'll be paid by the bill.
Now, I understand his contract's what, 125,000? Roughly.
Yes.
Now, is that a 40-hour week in office?
He spends a lot of time outside of office. I guess you could answer that, Mr. Manager. How do you spend your day?
In my view, it's a 40-hour-a-week job. I don't seek anything for a day like today, where I'll be here longer than an 8-hour day. And I think if you really wonder if I'm in the office with sufficient time and so forth, you ought to go ask some people you know well on the town staff.
I want to make sure that you know, he's asked for no increase, but the manager will get the increase of the non-union, that the council agrees for the non-union staff. The manager will get that increase.
Cost of living in the next budget.
Well, that's what.
That is the cost.
That is the cost of it.
Okay.
But what I'm saying is I want to make sure you knew that he will be, if other non-union employees get a raise, he will get one as well. Okay? All right. Anything else? All in favor? All opposed? 5-2. Marcel and Sheldon. Item 44, suggested motion, move to retire executive session pursuant to Title 1 MRSA Section 4056A personnel.
So moved.
Steve. Second. Here. All in favor?